Good morning, everybody. Excuse me. And today we're going to talk about a painful subject for many people. And we're going to talk about a parent's pain. Parent's pain. There's joy when a baby is born. Incredible joy. But sometimes pain happens immediately. Sometimes the baby's discovered to have a disability or cerebral palsy or some kind of quadriplegia or something like that. And I've known parents who are so dedicated to their children who have disabilities, and they love them, but there's a pain there that their child can't do certain things, and it's not going to become what maybe they had dreamed about. So that's part of a parent's pain. Parents' pain also sometimes, unfortunately, the way it's supposed to work is we're supposed to die first, and the children die after. They're supposed to bury us. And sometimes we end up burying our children. And that's a horrible, horrible pain. And we have the pain of children who run away. We never see them. We have a granddaughter who we haven't seen in 4 years, ran away. And that's a pain that's always on your heart. There's the pain of children involved in wrong activities, drugs, and that cycle. I've seen that cycle so many times. Wrong sexual orientations. We experienced that in our family. Even incarcerated. Remember, everyone who's like, they arrest these mass murderers and they put them in jail and everybody's happy. That person has parents, and the parents are devastated. It's a parent's pain. And I don't think anybody is immune from a parent's pain. And I'm going to look at 2 Samuel chapter 18, verse 33. It's talking about King David. It says, the king was shaken. He went up to the room over the gateway and wept. As he went, he said, "Oh, my son Absalom, my son Absalom, if only I had died instead of you. Oh, Absalom, my son, my son, my son." Now remember who's saying this is the king. The king. He has all the money in the world. But all the money in the world won't take away the parent's pain. He had all the power in the world. But all the power in the world won't take away parents' pain. This is the same man who confronted Goliath without flinching, without crying, who fought hundreds of battles, charged into the battle, ready to attack, without crying. And yet, he was shaken. And why was he shaken? It tells us because of Absalom. Absalom had died. Now, Absalom was I guess you'd say, a problem child for many years. Absalom was the third oldest of David's sons, and David had a preference for him, as I read it. It doesn't say that, but he had a preference for Absalom. And what Absalom did is he murdered the oldest son, Amnon, because Amnon had raped Absalom's sister, his half-sister. And so he murdered one of his brothers. And he ran away and was in exile. And then finally David brought him back. And then what Absalom did next was he made a revolt against his father. Can you imagine that? A child making a revolt against the father? Anyone have that experience? Many people have that experience. You want the best for your kids, and David probably wanted him to be the king, the way it looks. But he got the people to like him, said, oh, this king is not really doing anything. If I were the king, And then he started a rebellion against his father. He was a rebellious child. You know how a rebellious child is, right? I know you do, I know I do, I know you do. Rebellious children. They're always on your mind. It's a parent's pain. David had that. And then Absalom actually started a revolt. And David now is on the run. He's had to leave his kingship. He's running away, and there's a battle between Absalom's forces and King David's forces, and King David's forces win. But in the final battle here, Absalom is killed. Is killed. So David has won the battle. He's going to be the king again, yet he's just learned that his son has died. Son who was rebellious, son who was a murderer, son who was trying to kill him, and yet he still had the parents' pain. That's how deep that pain is. And so he was shaken. And it took, nothing shook King David. Nothing. Not Goliath, not anything. But he was shaken by a parent's pain. So he goes up to a room and he wept. He wept deeply. That's a heart. It doesn't say he cried. Crying is like you're crying. But he's weeping. That's like uncontrollable. And he said, "Oh, my son Absalom, my son Absalom, if only I had died instead of you." Think about that. He would have rather have died than to see his son die. A rebellious son, or a son who's just trying to kill him. That's how deep that pain is. And if we're not careful, that pain will define us and consume us. I understand that pain. I'm not being frivolous about a parent's pain. But David was at the lowest point of his life. And then chapter 19, Joab, the commander of the troops, was told the king is weeping and mourning for Absalom. And the whole army they were fighting for David against Absalom's men, and they won. And now the king is upset. He should be happy that they saved him, but he's not. And so Joab, who was a very brave guy, goes into David's house. And he says to him, "Today you have humiliated all your men who have just saved your life and the lives of your sons and daughters and the lives of your wives and concubines." And then he says in verse 6, "You love those who hate you and hate those who love you. You have made it clear today that the commanders and their men mean nothing to you. I see you would be pleased if Absalom were alive and all of us were dead." So he's trying to help David to see, and it's hard to see when you're in grief. But, there's more than the child, There's more. You have more people in your life. And what we have to do when we have a runaway granddaughter or a child or death of a child, we have to move on. We have to move on. Otherwise, it'll destroy you. David was about to just lose everything here. But Joab came and did the hard thing, said, "Listen, there's many people who love you. They risk their lives for you. And now you have to put that aside. Yes, grieve it, all of that, but you have to go on." And so, in verse 8, it says, the king got up and took a seat in the gateway, and then he honors the men, and he goes on and becomes the king. And it's hard to go on when you have the pain of a parent, and I don't think that pain ever goes away, but it becomes less over time. And we still hope to see that child or grandchild one day, but it's out of our control. And that reminded me when I was reading this of the Serenity Prayer. If you've never read it, the first line says, "God, grant me the serenity to accept what I cannot change, and the courage to change what I can, and the wisdom to know the difference." We can't control somebody else's life when they're an adult. We cannot control their life. They have to make their own choices. We can pray for them. You can pray for them daily. I pray for a situation in my family. I pray daily for several situations. But I can't change them. I can't control them. So you have to have the wisdom to know what you can do. And what we can do is pray. What we can't do is change people and change what happened in the past. And what we can do is to go on. And I always like to look around at who's in my life now, right? Who's in my life now? And be a good father. You can be a good mother to the people who are in my life now, whether they're my natural children or not. God will put people in your life. We'll put another son, we'll put another daughter in your life. And you can be like a mentor, be like an encourager to them. So I encourage you today, if you have that pain, I'm sure many of you do, to have that wisdom to know what you can do and what you can't do, and to focus on all those who are with you and are still here, as Joab encouraged David to do, and David went on. So God bless you, and hope that helps you somewhat. Share it with somebody else, and if you need any prayer, you can leave a comment in the comments below or instant message me, and we'll be happy to pray for you, your wayward child, or whatever your situation is. So God bless you, and I will see you again next week, God willing, and we'll see what God has for us at that time. Amen.